Here is a paraphrased version of your script. The word order and sentence structure have been adjusted, but the core message, style, and pacing remain intact to maintain the video's original impact. Have you ever caught your reflection in the mirror and quietly asked, "Why am I not yet where I want to be?" Have you ever murmured to yourself, "Am I really doing enough, or am I just manufacturing excuses?" Perhaps the thought has crossed your mind, "Is my biggest opponent the person staring back at me?" These questions don't arrive with a bang. They surface in those unguarded moments when the audience is gone. When the world falls silent, and it's just you, your reflection, and the heavy weight of all you could have already become. You possess an awareness of your own potential. Deep within, you can feel it. Yet, emotions have a way of seeping in. Fear, self-doubt, and frustration take hold. Some days, it truly feels like your own mind has turned into your greatest obstacle. One moment, you're bursting with an energy that feels like you could conquer the world, and the next, you're paralyzed, overthinking every little thing, hesitating at the crucial moment, and surrendering to comfort right after swearing to yourself that things would change. But consider this: what if this internal battle isn't yours alone to fight? What if it's a fundamental part of the human condition that has existed for centuries? What if a figure from long ago saw this struggle with perfect clarity and left us a roadmap to transcend it? Niccolò Machiavelli existed in an era defined by chaos, betrayal, and intense power struggles. But beyond his political observations, he possessed a deep understanding of people. He witnessed firsthand how emotions can dismantle the strongest of individuals and how self-mastery, not luck, nor charm, is the true dividing line between the ordinary and the unstoppable. His insights are raw and unfiltered. They refuse to sugarcoat the harsh realities of existence. They compel you to turn your gaze inward. They communicate a simple truth: if you desire command over your life, your first act must be to command yourself. This video isn't advocating for a life devoid of emotion. It's about forging unshakable emotional strength. It's about taking back your focus, your discipline, and that inner fire, especially on those days when nothing seems to make sense. So, if you've ever sensed that something inside is holding you back, let this be the wake-up call you've been waiting for. Before we go any further, put this in the comments: I am in control of my emotions and nothing can stop my rise. Let's begin. 1. Master your feelings, don't let them master you. Life presents moments where your entire being screams for a reaction. When someone disrespects you, when circumstances betray your expectations, or when that inner voice whispers that you're inadequate. In these critical moments, the easiest path is to let your emotions grab the steering wheel. And that, right there, is where most people suffer their greatest defeat. Not to the outside world, but to the person inside. Machiavelli grasped a concept that many miss entirely: emotions are a natural human function, but they aren't always your ally. Experiencing an emotion doesn't create an obligation to act on it. Feelings like anger, fear, and even hope are part of our shared humanity. But the instant you allow them to make your decisions, you've handed over your personal power. You cease to choose with clarity and begin to react blindly. When this becomes a pattern, you evolve into someone you yourself can't depend on. He famously stated, "He who builds on the people builds on mud." This wisdom extends far beyond politics. It means any foundation that isn't solid, whether built on fleeting emotions, others' opinions, or temporary moods, is destined to crumble. If your inner peace fluctuates based on external words or the nature of your day, you're standing on mud. However, if you cultivate the ability to remain centered when life applies immense pressure, no external storm will be able to move you. Reflect for a moment. Can you recall an instance when you were on the verge of saying or doing something fueled by anger or fear, but you paused? You stopped yourself, and later, you felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for that restraint. That single pause, that quiet decision to remain calm, was not weakness, it was profound strength. That was you, firmly in control. That was power. Machiavelli wasn't suggesting we become unfeeling. He was advocating for emotional discipline, the strength to feel deeply yet choose wisely. Because the person who can experience pain, frustration, or immense pressure and still remain steady has already positioned themselves ahead of the masses. So, the next time your emotions threaten to overwhelm you, ask yourself this crucial question: am I making a conscious choice, or am I merely reacting? That answer holds the potential to transform your life. 2. Embrace brutal reality. Abandon illusions, ***. There arrives a critical point where self-deception becomes more damaging than any external force. We all engage in it subtly. We tell ourselves things will sort themselves out. I still have time. Maybe tomorrow will be different. We cling to fantasies because they offer a comfortable refuge, shielding us from the truths we refuse to see. But deep down, we recognize that comfort is a catalyst for nothing. Facing the truth, however, changes everything. Machiavelli held a deep-seated belief that nothing was more perilous than living in a fantasy world. He had no use for pretty lies or fleeting, feel-good notions. He championed clarity, even when it was painful. He stated, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." In essence, don't wait for an external force to jolt you awake. Be the one to wake yourself up. Often, we dodge reality because we're terrified of what it might demand from us. We fear that admitting something is broken means we'll have to initiate a repair. Acknowledging a toxic relationship means we'll have to leave it. Accepting our own laziness means we'll have to embrace responsibility. And responsibility is a heavy burden. Yet, it's also the very first step toward genuine freedom. You cannot cultivate growth within a lie. You cannot heal while pretending you aren't hurt. You cannot make progress if you're perpetually waiting for ideal conditions. Life doesn't pause for your readiness, it marches on relentlessly. The sooner you stop applying a sugary coating to everything, the faster you reclaim control. Ask yourself this right now: what truth am I actively avoiding? What reality am I trying to hide from? Perhaps it concerns your daily habits, your fundamental mindset, or the persona you've been projecting. You don't have to correct everything today, but you absolutely must confront it. Machiavelli's goal wasn't to make people cold-hearted, it was to make them conscious, to see with clarity and live with open eyes, even when the view is unpleasant. Because once you stop concealing yourself from the truth, you can finally begin constructing a life of authenticity. No one ever revolutionized their existence by waiting for a perfect moment. They did it by choosing to see things as they are, not as they wish them to be. So, ask yourself with brutal honesty, am I living grounded in truth, or am I hiding within the comfort of hope? That answer might shake you, but it also has the power to save you. 3. Employ strategy, not just strength. You can raise your voice, you can make a fist, you can mentally declare that you're not to be challenged. But without a coherent plan supporting your actions, it will all eventually disintegrate. Raw strength might capture attention, but it's strategic thinking that commands lasting respect. And that respect is the key that unlocks doors which brute force can never budge. Machiavelli was never impressed by sheer force alone. He observed that genuine power doesn't announce itself loudly. It maneuvers quietly, it plans its moves in advance, and it acts only when the timing is perfect. He's known for saying, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." This is frequently misunderstood. He wasn't advocating for cruelty. He meant that your very presence, the way you carry yourself, the decisiveness you show, the ground you hold, should be so solid that others think twice before challenging you. Not out of a fear of punishment, but because they recognize your unshakable clarity, your self-control, and your consistency. Too often, we operate on impulse. We attempt to validate ourselves in the heat of the moment. But true proof isn't found in a reaction, it's demonstrated by results. And results are the product of strategy. They come from understanding who you are, defining your destination, and charting the course without squandering energy on irrelevant skirmishes. Think back on all the times you could have secured something, a job opportunity, a valuable connection, a personal milestone, but you rushed, you let emotion dictate your actions, or you failed to think ahead. That's not a character flaw, it's simply human. The lesson, however, is that strength born from emotion burns fast and extinguishes just as quickly. Strategy endures. You don't need to be the loudest person to be the strongest. You don't have to dominate others to lead. You don't need to be everywhere at once. What you need is to be intentional. And that intentionality is the hallmark of a truly powerful individual, the capacity to think several steps ahead, to remain grounded, and to never lose sight of the larger objective. Being strategic involves knowing when to voice your thoughts and when to observe in silence. It's discerning when to engage in conflict and when to simply walk away. It's understanding when to take a calculated risk and when to patiently wait. This has nothing to do with manipulation, it's about maturity. It's about constructing a life guided by clear direction, not just raw energy. So, the next time you feel the urge to forcefully barrel through a challenge, just stop for a moment. Ask yourself, what is the most intelligent way to advance? Not the quickest way, not the most aggressive way. Remember, strength might be able to break down walls, but strategy is what builds entire kingdoms. 4. Cultivate adaptability and embrace unpredictability. Life has a persistent habit of deviating from our carefully laid plans. Just as you believe you have everything figured out, something fundamental shifts. The stable job you counted on disappears. The person you placed your trust in leaves. The daily routine that always worked suddenly feels pointless. In these critical moments, your capacity to adapt isn't just a nice skill to have, it transforms into your primary survival mechanism. Machiavelli understood this deeply, recognizing that those who refuse to change are the ones who inevitably break. He stated, "Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times." This single line carries more weight than most advice you'll ever encounter because it's a powerful reminder that success isn't about simply doing the same thing with more intensity. It's about possessing the wisdom to know when a different approach is required. It's about listening carefully to what the present moment demands, rather than stubbornly clinging to what your ego wants. You may possess discipline and focus. But if you lack flexibility, life itself will move faster than you. There is no strength in stubbornly adhering to a plan that's proven wrong. There is no honor in holding onto a version of yourself that no longer fits the life you're actually living. Adaptability is the engine of growth, and a degree of unpredictability keeps you powerful. Why? Because it prevents others from putting you in a box, and it ensures that no challenge ever encounters you the same way twice. Some of our most painful life experiences stem directly from our resistance to change. We cling to the familiar, even when it's causing us harm. We repeat the same unproductive behaviors, even when they've stopped working. We unrealistically expect the world to adapt to us, when the truth is, it is always we who must evolve. Being adaptable doesn't mean losing your core identity. It means uncovering new facets of yourself that have been waiting for the right moment to emerge. So ask yourself honestly, when life presents an unexpected twist, what is your typical response? Do you freeze in place, do you aggressively fight against it, or do you find a way to flow with it, learning and making adjustments as you move forward? Can you look at a significant setback and immediately ask, what is this trying to teach me, instead of, why is this happening to me? Being unpredictable isn't about being erratic or chaotic. It's about being unshakable. Because when people can't anticipate your every move, when life circumstances can't corner you, you become a force that simply keeps advancing, regardless of the obstacles. That's authentic power, not rooted in controlling everything, but in knowing how to let go, to pivot, and to rise once more. Stay flexible. Stay alive. That's the formula for winning, not just once, but consistently. 5. Manage your image. Perception is reality, asterisk asterisk. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? You can put in immense effort, possess a genuinely good heart, and operate with the best intentions. Yet, if your external presentation doesn't accurately reflect that inner reality, the outside world may never truly see it. People rarely take the time to dig for your personal truth. They respond to what they can observe, what they sense from you in an interaction. This is why managing your image isn't an act of fakery, it's a practical necessity. Machiavelli captured this idea perfectly. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. This isn't a cynical view of humanity, it's a statement of clear-eyed reality. Because in the real world, people don't carry mirrors that reflect your inner self. They carry their own perceptions, formed by what you project. And these perceptions can either swing doors wide open for you or quietly close them before you've even had a chance. So, conduct this honest assessment. When people observe you, listen to you, or interact with you, what is the primary takeaway? Do they sense calm, confident energy, or do they pick up on chaos and uncertainty? Do you come across as focused and intentional, or do you seem unsure, constantly over-explaining yourself? This exercise isn't about constructing a fake persona. It's about achieving alignment. It's about ensuring that the person you are internally and the presence you project externally are in perfect harmony. It means making sure your actions, your tone of voice, your posture, and your overall presence all reflect the grounded, capable individual you are actively striving to become. Here's a fundamental truth: your image is constantly communicating, even when your mouth is closed. The way you enter a room, the way you hold someone's gaze, the way you conduct yourself under pressure, all of these elements send powerful messages. And when those messages consistently convey, "I am in control. I am not easily shaken. I know what I stand for," people respond differently. Life itself seems to respond. A strong reputation acts as your silent guardian. When others believe in your consistency, your inner strength, and your values, their treatment of you changes. Sometimes, you won't need to argue or prove a single point. Your established presence will do it all for you. That is the profound power of a well-managed image. But controlling your image does not demand perfection. It simply requires consciousness. You don't need to possess all the answers. You only need to carry yourself like someone who is actively and confidently seeking them. You don't need to be loud, just be steady. You don't need to be intimidating, just be unshakably clear about your identity and your boundaries. So, think carefully: what kind of energy are you introducing into the world each day? When you walk into a room, do you instinctively shrink, or do you stand firmly in your own truth? Not to impress anyone, but as a natural expression of your internal stability. Take control of your image, not to feed your ego, but to create alignment. Because the world can only ever respond to what it can see. Make absolutely sure that what it sees is a true reflection of the person you are genuinely becoming. 6. Withhold visible weakness. Strength is a signal, ****. There is a distinct shift in the atmosphere when you reveal too much of your inner uncertainty. People don't always react with compassion. Often, they engage in subconscious calculation. They might not verbalize it, but they definitely notice when you hesitate, when you second-guess every choice, when you allow fear to shape your words and your tone. Slowly, perhaps without even realizing it, you begin to lose your footing. Not because you lack capability, but because the image you're projecting sends a clear message that you aren't ready. Machiavelli offered a hard truth: a wise ruler ought never to keep faith when by doing so it would be against his interests. This reflects the complex, often pragmatic nature of human interactions. Sometimes, being overly open, too quick to trust, or excessively soft can place you in vulnerable positions. Your goodwill is taken for granted, and your silence is misread as a weakness to be exploited. This absolutely doesn't mean you need to become inauthentic. It means you need to be acutely aware. Strength isn't about pretending you feel no pain. It's about the ability to stand your ground when that very pain threatens to make you collapse. It's the capacity to remain tall, even when every internal instinct is screaming to retreat. Because strength is a potent signal, and the world instinctively responds to that signal. You can probably remember a specific time when you lowered your guard prematurely, shared too much with someone who hadn't earned it, or failed to set a necessary boundary to protect your peace. What was the outcome? Did it empower you, or did it end up costing you something significant? These experiences serve as lessons, not to make us cold, but to make us wise. People universally respect clear boundaries. They might test them, but ultimately, they respect them. When you walk into any setting with a calm confidence, when your words carry genuine weight, not because you shout, but because you speak with intention, people feel that presence. You don't have to dominate the space. You simply have to be unmistakably clear about where you stand and what you represent. Protecting your emotional energy is not a selfish act, it's an intelligent one. You are under no obligation to bleed publicly to prove your humanity. Vulnerability absolutely has its place, but that place is only in the hands of those who have genuinely earned your trust. In every other context, let your quiet strength do all the necessary talking. So, ask yourself again, what message are you transmitting when pressure mounts? Do you shrink away, apologize for simply taking up space, or soften your voice to make others more comfortable? Or do you firmly remind yourself that your strength doesn't need to be loud, it only needs to be stable, grounded, and perpetually ready? Show the world a living example of what stability looks like. Let your quiet, unshakable strength become the message that silently declares, I may bend under pressure, but I will not break. 7. Strategize for long-term success, not fleeting gains. The desire for results is universal. We all crave the feeling that our efforts are producing tangible outcomes. However, sometimes, in our eagerness for progress, we fall into the trap of chasing what's easy, what delivers instant gratification, and what simply feels good in the present moment. Then later, when the initial excitement has completely evaporated, we're left to wonder why nothing of substance has actually changed. Machiavelli's controversial statement, "The ends justify the means," is often misinterpreted as an endorsement of manipulation. But in its essence, it's a profound reminder to maintain focus on what truly matters, the ultimate outcome that has the power to transform your life over the long haul, not merely the fleeting rush of temporary victories. You are constantly facing a choice. You can be the person who trades discipline for momentary comfort. Or, you can be the one who willingly sacrifices that comfort today in exchange for building a future that others never thought you could achieve. Most people abandon their goals not from a lack of talent, but from an impatience for quick results. They plant a single seed and expect to harvest fruit the very next morning. But genuine growth doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It happens in whispers. It demands a significant investment of time. It requires unwavering consistency, especially during those long stretches when no one is there to applaud your effort. Long-term success is remarkably quiet at its inception. It develops in the shadows, during those early mornings and late nights when you're the only one witnessing your own dedication. It requires you to become comfortable saying no to things that offer immediate pleasure, so you can eventually say a resounding yes to a life that feels deeply fulfilling. Think back on the times you abandoned a positive habit simply because it was difficult. Remember the moments you neglected an important responsibility for the sake of short-term ease. How many times did that fleeting moment of relief end up costing you far more than you initially realized? True strength isn't demonstrated by sprinting down the quickest path. It's demonstrated by having faith in your own process and staying the course, even when the evidence of your work hasn't yet materialized. Because success is not a single event, it's a consistent direction, a choice you renew with every single day. Though Machiavelli's wisdom originates from centuries past, it remains a living, breathing mirror for anyone who is genuinely serious about personal growth. When you actively apply these principles, you transition from simply reacting to life's events to actively shaping your own destiny. You stop merely surviving and begin the process of rising. You evolve into the kind of person who no longer needs to be rescued, because you have already taken it upon yourself to do the rescuing. Now, it's your turn. Drop that affirmation in the comments once more. I am in control of my emotions and nothing can stop my rise. Don't just type it as a line. Type it as a firm decision. Say it with conviction. Say it as if you are finally finished with being stuck. Say it as if the future you've always wanted is finally yours to build. Thank you for watching. If this message connected with something deep inside you, please like and subscribe for more grounded, honest, and powerful lessons. I'll see you in the next video, where your journey of rising continues.